Hi, welcome to That Reminds Me Of, a podcast about film and the films that remind us of that film. You're here with Baron and the Doc.
And the Maestro.
Do we need another drink? Yes, we do. Yeah.
Doc, here we are for another episode.
Back at the Capitol Theatre, our old hunting ground.
Yeah, we are. So last night we went to see a film at Acme Theatre called Godless, the Eastfield Exorcism. And it was a packed cinema, as they are these days at MIFF, which is really fantastic. And a film full of jump scares that had the audiences gasping, and heavy drama, all the good things you want. Ostensibly a horror film, but there was a lot more to it. What do you reckon?
Well, I reckon we should introduce some special guests that we have along with us today.
Probably.
What do you think?
Yeah, it's a good idea.
That's
Is that a deflection?
avoiding
Hold on.
a real criticism of the film.
Here they are. We have here in the studio, in the large Capitol studio, Nick Kozakis, director, and the star of the show, Georgia Eyers.
Welcome.
Thank you. It's exciting.
Thanks for coming to have a chat with us about this.
This is cool, and like the fact that we own this space now, this is the most glamorous thing I've ever had in my life.
Awesome. We should also mention, that Alexander Angus Wilson wrote this.
Yep.
And there was a lot of cast members there last night. Great cast, great crew by the sounds of it. So, well done getting this thing put together.
Yeah, it was like a labor of love. It was sort of born out of the boredom of COVID, and like we were just in lockdowns, and then once we got out, we're just like, let's just make whatever we can make. And a testament to Alex, who wrote a great script, and just this team. It was like, and I said it last night, but it's like, not to go Vin Diesel with it, but it's like, it was family. It's like we were all family with it, and we loved every moment of it. Even to the point now where it's like getting to showcase it in front of our home turf. It was exciting.
Yeah.
And what a bloody premiere! Like the excitement in the crowd. Like it was clear that there was a cast and crew and everyone in there, but everybody just loved it. There was applause for just the most ridiculous, movements of your head, and the crowd would go wild.
Yeah. It was really surreal. How'd you find it? Like,
It felt like we were watching, like we were all at home, like just watching it on the TV, kind of just like everyone was there together. And as you said, I think it was majority family, friends of friends. And so it felt very supported. And I think when we initially premiered it in New Orleans, it was very different because we knew no one there. So it was like, well, these people can literally throw stuff at the screen. Like it could go terribly wrong. But I think last night it was like, we're a bit more relaxed, still nervous, but obviously it felt very, communal.
But we were
really
lucky.
nice.
The US crowd really got involved, and they were like
thank
so
goodness.
loving, and we got some really cool responses there too. So it's been good.
How good is that? That's the best.
It was insane. Like, I didn't sleep that entire time. I was like so stressed out. I'm like, the imposter syndrome kicked in. I'm just like, I'm a bad filmmaker. What have I done? I've ruined everyone's careers. And then I wasn't sleeping because we were living above that voodoo chicken place that was pumping music. And and so then suddenly I going in, I'm like, oh no, this is it. This is like where I realize I'm going back to music videos, and that'll be my life. And I do love them. But it was a great crowd there, and it was a great crowd here. So it's like it's been awesome.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Absolutely.
Speaking of music videos, like some of the greats really have come from music videos. Michelle Gondry and Spike Jonze, who else? David Fincher.
Yep.
And Nick. What is it about you folks that what is it about that grounding? What's a special sauce you then bring to the films?
I think it's like we love visual storytelling. Like every frame needs to mean something. So it's like I think that might help us. I can't compare myself to the names that you just mentioned, but like for me personally, I think that every frame has to say something, and I think that's why it hopefully translates into a film like this. It's just like every frame needs to have that storytelling point. Like you can put it on mute and still convey the same message.
That's great.
Oh, so we met on music videos.
Yes, that's how we met.
That's how
So
we
George's
met,
first job in Melbourne after moving from Perth. Joking.
Brisbane.
But like, I always thought she was from Perth for some reason.
I'm from Perth, so
Hey,
I
love
can-
Perth.
Yeah.
So you live close to each other?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Everything was closed at 4
Yeah.
p.m. Like, it was just
Right.
But yeah, it was when she moved down. I found her on Star Now.
Yeah,
right?
back in the day,
And then I'm like, she's got a cool look. She
Yeah.
looks soulless. So it's like, And then so then we collaborated on that. It was such a fun experience. And then we worked together again. And then I'm like, I've got to do something with her. And then this fell into my lap, and I'm like, I can't do it without her. So Yeah.
It was good. Also, just going on set and already having a relationship, because I don't know. Sometimes you go
Yeah.
on set and you're like, I know no one. This is really like it takes a while to kind of get into it. Whereas already knowing Nick and even a few other crew members was just so nice to just ease into that, which was good.
Yeah.
Well, and it's such a role. I know you'd get sick of talking about it, but I imagine it's a hard role to play. It's a challenging role. So I guess to have someone that purports to be kind there with you.
Yeah, but absolutely though, because it is one of those things. It's like Nick and I love to joke around, but obviously at the end of the day, it's a very serious role, and it's a very like we're dealing with a serious topic. So I think that's a good thing about our relationship. We could click in and out of like joking around, and then it's like, okay, let's just come on.
Yeah, the trust was there, which was
Yeah,
good.
absolutely.
So it's like
That's
the trust, and or at least I knew that she was going to do a good job and make me look like a good director. So then that way it was fine. So that's all I needed.
That's the
Worked
deal,
both
isn't
ways,
it?
yeah.
You know? As a director, you're looking for actors that can make you look good, and vice versa.
Yeah.
The actors
Absolutely.
are in the hands of the director, so
Yeah.
you need that trust. It's great.
It's good.
Normally at this point we would make up a synopsis based on our sort of understanding of the film.
Yeah.
However, we've got you guys here, so
Damn
which one of you would like to give us the pitch?
It has to be Georgia.
No, it has to
it
be
has
Nick.
to be you.
Nick,
Otherwise, this podcast is going to go forever.
genuinely,
We
Nick's
can't
so
debate
good.
this.
No.
Lara suffers from schizophrenia and hypomania, but her husband Ron finds that she's spiritually possessed. And so he gets his congregation to start performing exorcisms on her, and we have like a brutal tale of like a tragic situation where these religious zealots start doing really horrific things to a innocent woman. Was that all right?
That was
Did I
pretty
do it?
good. That was better than me.
It's off script, but
That's
I
it. Yeah, no, that was good.
I forgot that. Like I have to go back on IMDb and check it out. So it's like,
That's great. That sums it up. And I guess something that you discover towards at the very end. I don't think this is a spoiler alert. Tell us if you don't want us to put in there. But this is a real thing that happens in the world, right?
Yeah, it's intense. So like, I wanted to do the conventional type of possession film. I love every type of horror. Like I joke, but I'm serious about it. I'm actually a horror fan first, and then I'm a director. So it's like, and I wanted to do that kind of film. But when I started doing research, I found so many stories where people were dying at the hands of self-appointed exorcists and people that claim to be exorcists, or their own community of people that were just saying, "Yep, that person's possessed." Generally happens to women and children, and that terrified me. Like I remember reading that, I'm like, "Oh, that's horrible," and then I'd go to bed, and then thinking that one day I'd wake up and my whole family would just be brutalizing me because they thought they were doing it out of love and to save me. It's just like, how do you get out of that situation? And that terrified me more than anything else. And then it sort of evolved from there.
And these are the films you love too.
I know.
So you've just realised that the films you love actually are real.
Yes, yeah. Like they're even more
That's
real,
true,
and
yeah.
it's like I'm like I can't look at them again.
Yeah.
So it's really traumatizing.
So the concept of these things happen in the world, and you've set this in Eastfield. Is it something that you actually came across? There's an example of this in Victoria, or are you sort of drawing from all the the various stories around the world?
There's a lot of stories around the world. It's like we have had it in our backyard, but I actually came across a New Zealand case of Janet Moses first, and that was the one that sort of piqued my interest. And even your hometown in Perth, there was a 6-year-old girl that suffered from it. So it was like, but the worst thing is that it's the same theme. It's like, it's almost a script, play by play. You've got like a woman that's a little bit unwell, and then family members are just like, okay, we're going to avoid medical health treatment, and we're going to go down the path of this. And it's the same kind of steps. And more often than not, these people tend to get away with horrific acts of violence because it's under, from their perspective, they're trying to help. And it's like, how do you get into that person's mindset to change that? And especially if you're mentally unwell, then you're the most sanest person, but you're clinically insane. So it's like you can never break that barrier. It's like it's like, and when you're in that situation and someone's like, do you have any words? And they're like, please let me go. And they're like, you hear that the demon wants to be released. You're stuck.
Yeah.
So you're totally trapped.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
yeah.
Wow, it's full on.
That's really the genius of your film, the fact that you ultimately take a position,
Yeah.
But we have to go on the whole journey to get to that position, really. And on that journey, you're juggling these two perspectives, you know, the medical view, the spiritual view at once. And as an audience, we honestly don't know, you know, which one is the truth. And that creates just great tension that keeps you rocking through the whole thing.
You're giving us multiple perspectives, which is fantastic. So you're seeing the demon, you're seeing the medical case play out in front of you at the same time.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why it was so important for us to do that, because it's like, it is Lara's story, but we do take Ron's journey too, and to see the manipulation of him as a character, like, it's so hard to follow a journey of what would be an arsehole. So it's like, is it, can I swear? Is that okay? So it's like, what would be a jerk, let's say, and then so you know, like, but you need to see it from his perspective, and like, he's seeing his wife going through such horrific things, and the system, especially in the time period that we set it in, 94, it was like essentially like the medical health system wasn't that great, and it's taking too long, and they just kind of like lock him in a white room. So then he's got a quick fix, take the quick fix. It's really sad.
Makes sense. Georgia, like this, I think the thing that really stood out to me as like one highlight of this film is just how freaking engaging you are on the screen. The camera loves you. Nick has sort of portrayed you in a way that just draws everybody in. But it's a really difficult role, and it's ultimately a very sad role. How did you just even start? Like, how do you dive into that character? How did you sort of get your head around it?
I think, well, initially when I read the script, it was one of those moments of like, oh, thank you, Nick, but I cannot. I simply cannot. It was just like, and he was like, yeah, it's, you know, you're going to have all these like 4 or 5 different personalities. And I'm going, yep. And we have a week to rehearse. Yeah, okay, that's good. That's
I don't
good.
have
That's
a good
good.
sales pitch, by the way.
Yeah. But it was, again, like, so, like going back to the trust thing, it was like I did have to trust him, because I'm going, okay, it is a really great script, and it's really powerful, and it is really sad. And the last thing I wanted to do, and it was great because we had Eliza, who played Dr. Walsh. She's the only real female voice in the film that's heard, I would say. And even then,
Ignored.
Exactly, yeah. So it's one of those things where Eliza had a lot of notes on the script, because she didn't want it to be like, oh, well, here's a story about this poor woman that just goes through it and that's the end of that. Like, she had a lot of say in it, which really helped also my approach to the script, because I think, yeah, as you said, it's an exorcism film, but I think it's just a really sad story. And it's got a lot of themes in it of like women, probably not to that extent, but like domestic violence, or not even having a voice. It's like in the psychiatrist office, where it's like Dan's character, Ron, is just constantly cutting me off. But in her mind, she's like, well, no, he does know best. And it's like she's almost brainwashed as well to be like, no, it's okay, he can speak for me, it's all good. But in regards to the approach to it, it was really me talking to Nick constantly, being like, I don't want all the like exorcism moments and stuff to be laugh, because I feel like some of those things can be really comedic. Like, you watch and you're like, oh my gosh, what is happening there? It's like so we really made that as truthful and as realistic, I guess, as we could, and more so highlighting how ill she is mentally, instead of going like, well, let's make her look crazy and insane. It's like, well, no, let's see her actually really struggle. So I think that was, it was we collaborated a lot on that, which was nice and needed, I would say.
Comes across.
Yeah.
Do you want to jump into some reminds me ofs?
Yes, well, that's
what we call them.
I'm so excited
That's
about
the
this.
name of the show.
It's like a game show.
It's a game show.
It's like, I love this. Yeah.
So we'll just start as if we're doing a normal episode, give a couple ourselves. And
Normally it's just us back and forth, but we're gonna bring you guys in. So.
we'll just go around the table. If we
All
get
right.
time, we'll go around again.
Yeah.
God.
I'm nervous because like
I don't know, wait, what is it?
I'm kind of like, I love horrors and I love cinema, and it's like if I get caught out that I don't know it, then I'm a fraud.
Well, everyone knows that I
happens
don't
to us
know
all
it,
the
so it's
time.
fine.
So you're in good company.
Yeah, so
don't worry about
all right,
that.
here we go. Let's do it.
So, shall I start?
you go.
Okay, so this is the obvious one. It's the one that everybody's got.
They'll know this one.
That you probably will know
Yes.
it, okay?
Even me?
But I'm going to mention it so that we can talk about why.
Yeah.
Okay, so The Exorcist.
Yeah.
Right, you have to talk about The Exorcist. With any exorcism film, it's basically the grandfather of all exorcism films that follow. But the reason I bring it up is that there are tropes that have been established in The Exorcist, and you see them play out through every exorcism film that follows. However, I noticed in your film that you've stepped away from some of those tropes and you've leaned into others. And I'm just like super curious to know, like, Nick, what in your mind were you thinking, this is a trope I want to follow, and this is one I don't? And I'll give you one example.
Yeah.
So Georgia doesn't have a lot of makeup on when the demon presents itself.
Yep.
And that is a trope that we've come to expect from an exorcism
Yep.
film. So what were your thoughts there, and what were you going for and not going for?
Yeah, we really wanted to keep it like grounded, right? So it's like, and again, all these exorcism films do that so great, where it's like you'll see that character slow look up, and they've got like those deep set eyes and all that. And we just we stripped that back as much as we could. And like the beauty of having such an amazing performer is she could do it all with her performance. I mean, not taking anything away from everyone else that's played roles and they've had the makeup done, but we would do it in a subtle way. So it's like we would just kind of like shoot her a little moodier, or put like a little bit more deep, like darkness around her eyes, but it wouldn't be to that extent, because we really wanted to like use the camera and the cuts and all that to kind of create a more jarring effect. So we kind of steered it in that direction.
Yeah, cool. And were there any from The Exorcist, any tropes that you thought, this needs to be in my film?
A lot of the dialogue. So it's like, I came here to exorcise the devil. And
Sure,
it's like,
yeah.
a lot of the dialogue that came from Daniel James King was like inspired from that, because then it set up like a whole world of people wanting to become exorcists and all that kind of stuff. So we took a lot from that. But yeah, it's like, Christ compels you to leave this body now and all that kind of stuff. It's just, it's things like that we brought in. So like to kind of reference, yeah.
Cool exorcist churchy talk.
Exactly, yeah.
So one of the other tropes I want to ask you about is the guy who does all the cool exorcist tropey talk is normally like an old church guy.
Yeah.
You've got a young hot guy.
He is stunning, isn't he?
Yeah. So
Tim would be loving that.
I was fascinated because, of course, being a horror fan myself, the tropes are deeply embedded. So when you see someone come at it from a different perspective, it's actually it's refreshing, and you start to think, oh, what else am I going to get? So, what were your thoughts on that? Like,
yeah, so it like kind of had its evolution of things, but we really wanted to tackle the Jim Jones type of charismatic kind of leader. It's like someone that thinks they're cool, and again, it's like with Daniel James King, it's like I wanted people to look at someone and be attracted to them, so then that way they could follow that person, So it's like I genuinely want to listen to this guy with the beautiful blue eyes, and like he's going to cancel me because I'm saying all these complimentary things, but it really was.
I think you've heard them before.
Yeah.
I think he's kind of like, stop, but keep going.
Stop it, but like let's talk later. And so he, so I really wanted to convey a different type, like I didn't want it to be the crusty older guy, because at the very end, those films, the older people come with wisdom, and they ultimately are the right ones. It's like, again, in The Exorcist, he knew what was best for that person. And in this, it's like a young, naive guy who's just been suppressed in this world where it's like everything you say and do is right, and any thought you have, which is a very ancient Greek type of thinking, is like, it's not your thought, it's God talking to you. So it's like when you fell in love in ancient Greece, it was like, hey, it's not me that loves you, the gods have given me the idea to love you. And in this, it's like anything he does isn't his own act, it's the act of God. And so that's why I was just like, that naivety there was like so good to portray in a younger guy, and also eye candy for us to be like, I want to listen to what he has to say. So
yeah, it works. That's great.
Yeah,
That's
definitely did work.
Yeah, it does
That's
work.
for sure.
Doc?
Okay, I was inspired more by the performance, not more, but in this case, no, let's say more. More by the performance. And was reminded just of the many films where the actor has to inhabit several personalities. Thinking Natalie Portman in Black Swan. What else? James McAvoy in Split. Toni Collette in United States of Tara. Even Jack Nicholson in Wolf with very similar, makeup, but changing completely. Reminded me of your performance. But a lot of those, they're playing this character now and then another character in 5 minutes' time. You, on the other hand, have to go in and out of these three personalities, and your own, and Lara's, sorry, within the blink of an eye. So, how difficult was that just to make happen? But secondly, were there any inspirations that you had on the performance?
I would say Split, funnily enough, like, because obviously I am not a huge horror fan, but I knew I had to look at some sort of films that had that in it. So I did watch Split, and it was so amazing to watch because I feel like there are moments that where he very quickly transitions in and out, but then adding the layer of, well, I'm tied to a chair, my legs are tied to a chair, what do I possibly, like, how can I kind of go in and out of that? And so again, it was really with Nick trying to focus on different voices and different facial expressions, because that's really all I had in the shed scenes. Obviously in the car, there's different, like, we had a bit more to work with, but even then it's like, well, you're driving a car, there's a whole bunch of things going on there. So I would say it was difficult to kind of make it, make sure that it was distinct. So like you could actually tell that it's switching between different people. But I have to say that editing also would have helped. Do you know what I mean? It's just like the quick edits, trying to make a cut between. Not that I'm trying to discount my performance, but it does help.
No, I
it
think
does
you're trying to discount.
Yeah,
Okay,
you're trying to
okay, well,
discount.
yeah.
She's a woman of 1,000 faces,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
it's like
thank
it was
you.
good. Like to have her tied to a chair and for her to show that transition was really good. But yeah. Did you
Yeah.
ever watch The Exorcist? Have you ever seen it? Wow. So you actually found a film in Split. Aside from The Parent Trap, which is the only other film that she's ever watched. So
It's not true. I've seen parts of The Exorcist I can't bring myself to watch. And I watched Hereditary, which is a...
Oh, great.
yeah,
so I
there you
have
go.
seen some.
That's good.
I had to watch,
Sunflower.
I watched
You've seen
Hereditary
that,
like 5 minutes, and then I would switch to something else, and then like I would have to kind of go through it slowly.
in segments.
In segments.
That's the safe way to do it.
Yeah. But no, in answering your question, essentially, it was, again, Nick kind of really showing me the different, what he wanted, and also pulling on other films and really old films as well to kind of be like, this is what I want, but obviously not mimicking those performances, but trying to just give a fresh light to it, which I think we did, hopefully.
And in a sad way as well, we were like looking a lot at YouTube videos of split personality and also people that were suffering from schizophrenia and hypomania and all that. So there was a lot of references to that. So
Yes.
Great.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to throw to you two, but one each. Something that inspired you that is a reference. What was on the mood board? You know, anything that was like a serious reference for you for this?
I've got Snowtown because it was so bleak. That was a big one for us. Myself and Carl Allison, our DP, who shut the film, and it's like I joke around about it, and he's probably overhearing it, but it's like you can give that man a toaster and he would make something beautiful with that and make it into a camera somehow to shoot something really cool. He's a wizard, and we looked at a lot of Kurtz's films, and that was a huge point of inspiration because it was that heavy foreboding nature, like between that and Nitram. They were like the two, but Snowtown definitely was a big influence for that.
Great.
I would say probably like the films that you mentioned, funnily enough, it was Black Swan, like Natalie Portman in that, and Split were the two that I was kind of like, I felt that they were really grounded performances and they weren't like super extra and out there. And it was just very natural and very, freaky to watch, obviously, because it's amazing. But I would say they were the two that were inspirations for me and helped me kind of get in the zone of like, trying to keep it natural.
Because it's the only two films you've ever seen.
And Parent Trap.
Oh damn! You've taken my next. My next
You
Lindsay
do
Lohan
know
really got into my
she can
side.
do the handshake. She knows it by heart.
Yeah.
So like,
Yeah.
I can't help you with that. So
Yeah.
you do it solid.
That's right.
That's great. Well, I think we've got time for another go around.
Another round?
Yep. So and you've mentioned Hereditary, which is interesting, but I was thinking about Midsommar quite a bit, or Midsommar, however you want to say it.
I don't even know how to spell it. I
Yeah.
just let Google autocorrect it for me. So
And like for reasons that are somewhat obvious, but that's kind of a film that's hard for a lot of people to digest. I don't think yours is in the same way, but you have that same kind of cult situation. You've got a young woman with trauma that's embroiled in this cult that has its designs, and you've got a sort of witless male partner who becomes complicit in everything that happens.
It's true, it's quite similar, isn't it?
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like
Don't give
the
it away.
stories
Wait
take
on.
different. Yeah, but some of the elements are sprinkled through there, and then without sort of giving any spoilers away, there's a fire element that sort of plays out, which is interesting too. Another thing that I thought was really interesting and a good connection to your film is that Midsommar is set mostly in the day. It's mostly in daylight, and so is your film, which for a horror film is always an interesting choice.
Yeah.
And daylight horror brings its own creepy, surreal nature to it.
Yeah, no, we definitely looked at that too, and that's, if you go to some of our pitch decks and like our mood boards, there would definitely be a Midsommar photo in there for sure.
Right.
And even our poster has like a reminiscent kind of image, like, you know, with her looking up at the cross,
Like
which is a
the
very
crown.
biblical look anyway.
Yeah.
But Midsommar did that too, which is like, you know, she's kind of crying and she's got like she's got the roses, I think it is, or the flowers, but it looks almost like a crown of thorns. And there was a lot of links to that as well. Well, like, these are just like the best films, like, you know, and you sort of take little bits and pieces from each one of them. So
name a modern horror filmmaker that's not referencing Ari Aster in some way.
I know, exactly. It's not going to happen. And if they haven't done it yet, they will eventually.
Yes.
So it's like,
I really loved your comment about the daylight. I hadn't thought of that, but that's just one of many strategies you use to make it feel real and not like a cartoon horror.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sorry, go for it.
No, I was just going to say, because we've got the orange, like, tarp or whatever, created a really cool colour as well, because it's like, it's not just straight daylight, it's like you've got this weird claustrophobic feel, which I think was done really well.
Yeah, we really wanted to punch the heat in there and like create that, like, you know, it did get hot eventually, because it was weird. It's like, it went from like super cold to like steaming hot, and which was its own kind of spiritual possession on our film. So we were upsetting something or someone, but it was we definitely wanted to play with light a lot and like really punch that through to create that claustrophobia, like you said. So, plus it's also cheaper to shoot during the day, but like
Is it? Oh, because of lights?
less lights.
Oh,
That's a
sure,
great
yeah,
choice. And you're in the country, so there's no generator.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But we'll just say that it was, you know,
It was a
the
choice,
brilliance
right?
of
Yeah,
the
yeah.
filmmaking.
Love it.
Yeah, I'll go with that.
Yeah.
My turn, is it?
Yeah.
I'm going to say a non-film reference, which is The Crucible by Arthur Miller.
Oh.
Yeah, which
I think there
some
has
of
been
us
a film made of it if you want to see that.
Yeah.
some of us may have done it in high school and otherwise
I
probably
was
not at all.
going to say high school, definitely.
Yeah. You know what? You've stumped me. I haven't seen it, and I know.
Have you read?
No, I haven't. I haven't seen it. I know of it, but like,
This is great. Something I have
I'm
seen
so
and
embarrassed.
no.
I'm gonna go. What?
Yeah.
You've seen it?
Yeah, well, I've read it. It was in high school thing.
Okay.
Yeah, it was. I was forced to do it, obviously.
Yeah,
What's
we're
it
all
about?
forced to read it at some
I'm
point.
gonna.
Right.
No,
There you go.
that's not fair.
Ew, come on.
Well, what the connection is to me is you've got basically a whole community calling out one woman after another for being a witch.
Oh,
And you know that it's clear it's not true, but more and more the whole community, it's like mass hysteria, and there's the witch trials and all of that sort of stuff. So it's, you know, especially that when you've got all the community, you know, gathered around you and no one's doing anything. It's very, very similar to just the delusion that goes on in the Crucible.
I think there's also a point in the Crucible where the community realizes they may have gone too far, but it's kind of jumped shark already. Like it's too late.
Yes, it's at the point of
Which
no
happens
return.
in this as well, I feel like there's that moment.
Or am I playing like
Spoiler.
I've never seen it, so that way I'm not called out for like ripping off the Crucible? No, that's cool. I'm gonna have to check it out. But like, that sounds exactly that. It was like that whole witch like think mentality of like she's possessed. We've got to do everything to her to save her. And it's like, what would they do back then? They'd throw them off cliffs and like burn them alive. And it's like, hey, if she's a witch, we'll get rid of it. And if she's not, too bad, we've got rid of it. So it's so crazy. Yeah.
It's more that thing of like, you plead to be like, I'm not crazy, I'm not insane, and it makes you seem crazier. Like I feel like it's like, no, and it's like, yeah, see, she's at it again. And I feel like it's similar in Godless. It's like, she's like, no, I'm fine, I'm just mentally unwell. And they're like, look at it, it's the demons in her. And you're like, it would be so frustrating and so heartbreaking though. No matter what you say, they're just gonna look down upon you and be like, oh, poor demon. I mean,
Terrifying situation.
It is, and similar to the Crucible.
Yeah, but it was terrifying in Godless. It really was. You think, thinking, how do you get through to these people?
Yeah.
But then the other hot side of your head is thinking, Ron, poor guy, he's realising this may be the only thing he can do. So then you're thinking, no, maybe they've got to be doing this to her.
Yeah.
I'm not
it's
team
awful.
Ron at all.
Not many people are.
I
towards
watched
the end
Ron
of
and
it.
I'm like, ugh.
It's like some people are like, oh yeah, and then it's like, nah, we're out.
It's a
Yeah.
little hard to stay on board with him, isn't it?
It
all the way
is,
through.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
You feel sad for the guy still.
Yeah. But then he's so manipulated and far gone at the end as well. It's like, what do you do?
Yeah, that's true.
Do you want to go another round on your
Yeah,
own?
let's do
What
it.
else you got?
This is like a game show. This is the best. I lost that round because I didn't know what the Crucible was, so that's bad.
That's
so
fine.
yeah.
That's fine.
What else you got?
What else have I got?
Yeah,
film
what
wise? Okay, so I think one big one was like, it came late in the game, but I watched Saint Maud, and that was just stylistically really beautiful. Have you guys
Yeah,
seen
Saint
it?
Maud's great.
No,
It's
you've got me.
unreal. Yeah, so I got
Is it
you.
a horror?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's it isn't it? It's sort of genre bender, you know, like
That's a great reference.
Yeah.
Yes, I hadn't thought of it. That's great.
yeah, Saint Maud was really like kind of a big tonal shift for us, and it came like almost like a month before because I'd sent the script to a friend of mine, Peter McLeod, and he's a script writer too and filmmaker. And he's like, "Have you seen Saint Maud?" And I'm like, "No," and I checked it out. I'm like, "Oh wow, Saint Maud is a great reference point." So yeah,
What year was it?
like I don't know, 2
Ages ago?
years ago or something.
Oh,
yeah.
Only
okay,
a few.
not-
It's
okay.
another
Yeah.
A24 film.
Yeah.
Oh, sweet.
Brilliant film.
great.
Brilliant film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow.
And it deals with possession and
Yeah.
mental illness in very similar way to yours.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a fantastic film. And that ending, which no spoilers, but like that ending was just so traumatizing to watch. I was like horrified. I was like,
Yeah.
okay, that's where we went. And yeah,
Great
it's
ending.
brilliant.
Great ending.
Highly recommend it.
Okay.
You won't watch it.
I might watch it.
Will you?
I might.
All right, we're gonna do
You
a
don't
second
know.
round of this podcast at some point. So it's like, and then
What did you think of that? I haven't watched it. I haven't watched it. No.
Did you have another one, Georgia?
Ooh, I feel like I'm stumped now. Probably I've used all my material.
I'm gonna
That's
win.
okay.
I'm gonna
You
win
used
this
two
round.
last time.
I
You
know,
did.
right? I
think
did
that's
too.
fine.
Thank
You did two in one.
Thank
That's
you.
fine.
Yes.
Yeah, but that was
Thank
your
you.
choice, and now I've won this
I
round.
thought
so-
you lost your voice, and yet you're still.
yeah, I can't go high, so I sound like a prepubescent kid. Like it's like, so if I talk, it's gone, like from
Okay.
last night. So
Nice.
yeah,
Well, I can jump in. I've got another
Yes.
one for you that's kind of a cheat. It's not even really a reminds me of, but it kind of is.
As long as I can have one too.
Sure. So I was very aware of your score in this film.
Yep.
Very big score. It's ever present. It's there throughout the whole film. And it's done by a fellow called Dmitri Golovko, who scored one of my films. So I know him very well.
Yeah.
And he's a champion and a great person to work with. What a great collaborator. So I was reminded of Dmitri.
yeah, he's an absolute machine. He's such a weapon. So we got him on board, and he did his first pass, and I was just like, this is amazing. And I felt like an imposter at that point because I'm just like, I have no notes. Am I just like a really like terrible director now? So I gave some notes, and then I drove away, and I called him like, just ignore my notes. Yeah, I love it. He's like, oh great, well I'm a week ahead, and then that's pretty much
He's a
the
machine,
final.
isn't he?
He's unbelievable.
Yep.
He's just so intelligent, and like he built devices, and I only learned this word from you, but like he'd have like this violin bow, and then he would just kind of like drag it across these like torture devices that these things look medieval, and he was
Great.
just amazing. Just built things out of nothing just to make the score work.
But also such
Beautiful.
an appreciation because I remember Nick showed me the film without the score, without it, and I'm kind of going, hey, it's good, but you're a little bit like, oh, okay, yeah. Like I
that
thought that was a
sounded
bit
bad.
more.
That's-
No, it's like I thought it was going to be more tense, but like then you put in the score and it's a completely different film.
Powerful.
And
Yeah.
especially his score, I was like, oh, it made me emotional and it made me feel things, and I was like, damn, okay, does a lot, does a lot.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's amazing.
He's a great guy.
Yeah.
Doc, you said you wanted one more.
I wanted a bonus, didn't I?
Yeah.
Yes.
That's right. Well, this is one for team non-horror.
Great.
It's a bit ridiculous, but
That's
it just
good.
came
Yeah.
into my head, and that's The Wizard of Oz,
Okay,
okay.
which I think
Please explain.
you can trace every film back to The Wizard of Oz,
Yeah, you
can't you?
probably
That's
can.
the,
Oh, probably, yeah.
but it's the point in Godless where we get to peek behind the curtain of what the reality really is. So it's been, we've been on both sides all through, and then all of a sudden we see the reality. And I felt that was probably the best executed part of the film, because I was wondering how it would all get pulled together. That just reminded me of The Wizard of Oz when the curtain gets pulled back, and particularly at the
Yeah, do it now. Like we can say spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert, spoiler alert, spoiler alert. It's the end of the episode. Particularly at the end when you actually see some of the origins of the characters
Yes.
that you inhabit.
Yeah.
which was really, I don't know if nice is the word, but I thought it was great filmmaking.
It's emotional.
And emotional
Yeah.
to tie it
Yeah.
all up. And I really wondered how you would tie it all up, and it was very well done.
Yeah, thanks. I give full credit to the script writers there, but we, even just visually, we try to litter that throughout the film. So it's like, here's that scene with the plumber, and here's this scene
Yes,
with like
that was
the
great.
baby, and then like
Hugh is amazing.
Hugh's
The
awesome.
plumber callback is great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's
Yeah.
really the one that I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
the plumber.
So good.
Yeah.
That's great filmmaking. Really good.
Oh, the
you.
awesome team, awesome team. No. I got to give credit to everyone there. It's like there was not one weak link. It's like the whole chain just came together, and we were all as strong as one another. And
But also
yeah,
Hugh brought a different performance.
Hugh
like
was great.
you
Back to the plumber.
Sorry, yeah, back to the plumber. Like I remember you said you had seen a bunch of tapes where they kind of all played it similar, and then Hugh, I don't know.
Yeah,
you
so
know
like
that
I was kind of like seeing a bunch of things that, like you said, were similar, and he just played it so straight, and like there was just something so haunting about it. But then I was like, you know what? I had watched American Psycho, and I love that Willem Dafoe performance and the way she directed him, which he'd do a performance where he's like, he was kind of skeptical of what Patrick Bateman was going to say in American Psycho, and then he was going to be on his side, and they cut the two between, so you didn't know.
Great.
And I was going to do that with him, but he just did it naturally. So I just didn't know where his character was going, and I'm like, I don't need other takes where I need you to lean more into it. He was just like, he was so unhinged in those moments, but it was very subtle, and brilliant guy.
Yeah.
And he really helped us relate with your character Lara in that early scene.
Yeah.
Like, we were all with you there,
Yeah.
well and truly.
He's amazing, his presence. And yeah, he just made me feel so uneasy. And obviously when we called cut, he's so lovely, but like during it I was like, okay, this is weird. I was like, this is, but he's truly sensational. And that
he was
character just in
lovely,
itself is very cool to just explore.
I haven't seen him since the film. So it's
No,
like, 'cause
he
couldn't
is-
make it, but maybe he doesn't exist.
Hold on, is he in our minds?
Yeah.
You're gonna look it up and realize he
Yeah.
died before the film actually happened.
Oh no, then we just cast no one. No wonder there was never an invoice that came through. Yeah.
That's great.
I feel like we've gone way over time.
We
Baron.
have. We've taken up
Yeah.
way too much of your time.
No.
Thank you
we
so
can
much.
do
So
this.
much fun.
We'll do like a bonus round. No, this was so much fun. Thank you for having us.
Yes.
We love this, and we love the show, and what you're doing is great. It's like a really unique twist on talking about a film, but also having fun with it. So, which is why we do it. Like, we want to love what we're doing. So,
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks. We really enjoyed all of last night.
Yeah.
Yeah,
great.
Thank you for coming and supporting us,
Yeah.
and cheering that extra little bit louder than everybody else. So,
Pleasure. Have a great rest of the festival.
thank you.
Thank you, we will.
You too.
Cheers, guys.